The average household spends $78,535 per year. Housing takes 33 cents of every dollar. Transportation, 17 cents. Food, 13 cents. That is 63 cents gone before anything else. 51% of Americans have nothing left at the end of the month. Only 12% of workers say their pay kept up with rising prices. $11,987 per year on transportation. Most people never add that up. Food, $848 per month. Up again this year. Housing, $2,189 per month. The single biggest slice of every paycheck. Bills alone, 50 to 55% of take-home pay. Before groceries, before gas. Healthcare, $659 per month on average. Up every year since 2019. The national savings rate, 4%. The monthly math explains why. Most households overpay in 2 or 3 categories. Most never know which ones. Transportation is the most over-budget category in the country. 53% of Americans set a formal budget in 2026, the biggest single-year jump on record. In the next 10 minutes, here is exactly what is happening and what you can actually do about it. Housing, $26,266 per year. Transportation, $11,987. Food, $10,169. Insurance and pensions, $9,823. Healthcare, $6,207. Those 5 categories total $64,452. The average household brings in $104,207 before taxes. Most of the take-home is gone before anything else is paid. The BLS Consumer Expenditure Survey covers 135 million households. The 2024 data dropped in December 2025. These are not forecasts. They are what American families actually spent last year, category by category. Housing is 33.4% of total spending, $2,189 per month on average. For renters in California, New York, or Florida, that number runs $1,000 to $2,000 above the national average. Transportation, 17% of household spending, $11,987 per year. Car payments, fuel, insurance, maintenance, registration. Most households never add those up. When they do, the total is almost always higher than expected. Food, $848 per month. Groceries alone account for $504 of that per BLS. The rest is restaurant meals, which rose 3.6% year over year as of April 2026 per USDA. Healthcare, $518 per month before any unexpected medical event. 6 in 10 workers say healthcare costs hurt their ability to save for retirement, per EBRI 2026. It is not a future problem. It is a monthly line item. Insurance and pensions, $9,823 per year. Health, auto, home, and life insurance premiums plus retirement contributions, all coming from the same post-tax pool. Spending up 24.6% since 2019. Income up 25.8%. On paper, households got slightly ahead. In practice, 51% are living paycheck to paycheck. The national aggregate hides what is happening inside individual households at every income level. The bottom income quintile spent $35,046 in 2024 on average income of $29,432. They spent more than they earned. That is the math of essential costs running above income for the lowest fifth of American earners. The middle quintile earns $57,000 to $94,000. Average spending, $61,000. Average income, $74,000. A $13,000 surplus sounds comfortable. After taxes, that surplus shrinks to $4,000 to $6,000 for most households. Take-home pay is not pre-tax income. A household earning $78,000 takes home $56,000 to $62,000 after federal, state, and payroll deductions. Most budget comparisons use pre-tax income. The bills come out of post-tax. If you want to see the real numbers behind the headlines, subscribe to the Data Desk and hit the bell so you never miss a breakdown. Stay with me, because later in this video, I am going to show you what the data says you can actually do about this. The BLS data includes benchmarks by income level, household size, and region. That means there is a benchmark for your specific situation, not just the national average. Most people do not know those benchmarks exist. The 3 categories where BLS data shows households most consistently over benchmark, and the numbers that tell you if you are one of them. That is part 2. One of those categories surprises almost everyone. For most middle quintile households, the gap between paycheck to paycheck and not is 2 or 3 specific spending decisions. not income. The data shows exactly which ones. Part 2. Average household transportation spend, $11,987 per year. The income-adjusted benchmark for a comparable household, $9,400. The gap is $2,587 per year, $215 per month, in a category most households assume they cannot control. The car payment is the biggest driver of transportation overspend. The average new car payment hit $767 per month in 2026. On an $11,987 annual transport budget, that single payment consumes $9,204, leaving only $2,783 for fuel, insurance, and repairs. Households that drive a paid-off vehicle or a used car with a sub-$400 payment consistently come in at or below the $9,400 transport benchmark. The single variable with the most impact on transport spend is the monthly car payment, not fuel. Auto insurance is the second transport lever. Households that shop at renewal save $700 per year on average across home and auto combined, per industry data. 65% of Americans have never switched their auto insurer. They are paying the loyalty penalty. Food is the second most over-benchmark category. The issue is not groceries, it is food away from home. The average household spends $344 per month eating out or ordering delivery. Households at benchmark spend $180 to $220. The gap is $124 to $164 per month, $1,500 to $2,000 per year on convenience spending. Store brand switching saves an average of $1,300 per year for a family of 4 on equivalent products, per Consumer Reports. The 5 categories with identical quality: dairy, canned goods, frozen vegetables, spices, and over-the-counter medication. One aisle change, $1,300 back per year. Subscriptions are the third over-benchmark category. The average American household pays for 4.2 subscriptions they rarely use, per C+R Research 2026. Average monthly cost, $86 in unused or underused services. That is $1,032 per year, leaving the account without a conscious monthly decision. Transportation overspend, $2,587 per year. Food away from home above benchmark, $1,500 to $2,000. Unused subscriptions, $1,032. Combined gap, $5,100 to $5,600 per year for the typical over-benchmark household. That is not a small number. $5,100 to $5,600 per year is the typical over-benchmark gap in those 3 categories combined. For a household taking home $56,000, that gap is roughly 9 to 10 cents of every post-tax dollar. Redirected to savings, it covers a 3-month emergency fund in under 2 years. The households living paycheck to paycheck are not mostly low income. 35% of households earning $75,000 or more report living paycheck to paycheck in 2026, per Pymont's data. The income is there. The over-benchmark spending in 2 or 3 categories is absorbing it. The BLS data shows one more consistent pattern. Households that correct even one over-benchmark category, not all 3, report measurably lower financial stress within 90 days. The fix does not have to be total. It has to start. Which of these 3 categories feels most off in your own budget? Transport, food out, or subscriptions? Drop T, F, or S in the comments. Everyone's number is different. Part 3 has the exact moves the data shows work fastest for each one. Month 1, identify the category. Month 3, first measurable financial stress reduction. Month 6, $1,200 to $2,800 saved. Month 12, $2,400 to $5,600. Year 2, a fully funded 3-month emergency fund. 1 category fixed. That is the entire timeline. The first move is the audit. Pull 3 months of bank statements and add up every transportation charge: car payment, fuel, insurance, registration, parking, tolls, rideshare. Most households have never done this. The total almost always surprises them. The insurance call is the highest ROI single action in the transport category. Households that call their insurer with a competing quote get a rate match or reduction 60% of the time. Average time, 20 minutes. Average saving, $400 to $700 per year. Per hour of effort, that is hard to beat. The food audit works the same way. Add up every delivery order and restaurant charge for 1 month. The average over-benchmark household finds $300 to $400 in food away from home. Cutting that by half, not eliminating it, saves $150 to $200 per month without changing grocery habits. Subscription audits consistently surface $40 to $100 per month in unused services. The most common, gym memberships used less than once per week, streaming services overlapping in content, app subscriptions renewed automatically for years. One 30-minute audit recovers $500 to $1,200 per year. The BLS benchmark comparison is a one-time setup. List your 6 major categories. Find your income quintile on the BLS table. Write the benchmark beside your actual spend. The categories above benchmark are your targets. Most households find 2, some find 3. Almost none find more than that. Once the over-benchmark gap is identified, the next move is where to put the savings. A high-yield savings account at 4.5% APY versus a standard bank account at 0.5% earns $400 more per year on every $10,000 saved. The difference requires one account opening, not active management after that. If an employer 401k match is available and not fully captured, that comes before any other savings move. The average uncaptured match is $1,336 per year per Vanguard 2026. That is a 50 to 100% guaranteed return on contribution. No investment product competes with that math. Transport benchmark, $9,400 per year. Food out, $180 to $220 per month. Unused subscriptions, 0. Emergency fund, 3 months of expenses. 401k match, fully captured. 5 benchmarks. 1 clear checklist for where to start. The 3-month rule is consistent in the data. Households that make one targeted spending change and hold it for 90 days report lower financial stress, not because the number is solved, but because the feeling of control changes. That shift in feeling is measurable, and it precedes the actual savings building. For households where transport is the red category, the car payment decision is the most impactful long-term lever, and the insurance call is the most impactful this-week lever. Do the call first. It takes 20 minutes, and the saving starts at the next billing cycle. For households where food is the red category, meal planning households spend 23% less per week than non-planners on equivalent nutrition, per USDA research. Cooking 3 dinners in batches on Sunday and eating leftovers twice cuts restaurant spend without cutting the food experience. The Paycheck math is not fixed. Spending up 24.6% since 2019. Income up 25.8%. The gap exists, but it is smaller than the over-benchmark spending in most households. The problem is not that Americans cannot get ahead. It is that the overspend in 2 or 3 categories is exactly absorbing the margin they have. 53% of Americans set a formal budget in 2026, the biggest single-year jump on record. The data says the awareness is there. The specific benchmark to compare against is what most budgets are missing. The BLS table is free and takes 10 minutes to look up. That is the starting point. 51% paycheck to paycheck on incomes that should cover more. The over-benchmark gap in transport, food, and subscriptions is where most of that margin goes. Which category are you starting with? Drop it in the comments, and we will see you in the next data file.